Jack Tanner, a former addict and criminal, after years of loneliness and despair, gets a chance to change his life thanks to a random act of kindness. He helps a girl on the highway. This leads to an amazing chain of events. He is offered a job, helped to go through rehabilitation, and he restores his relationship with his daughter. A year later, Jack lives in his own house, cares for a sick neighbor, has a stable job, and helps others. His kindness becomes the basis of a new life, modest, but filled with meaning, faith, and respect. The rusted frame of Jack Tanner's trailer groaned as the wind shifted outside. Rain tapped on the tin roof like nervous fingers. Inside, Jack, 62, sat hunched at the edge of a threadbare couch, nursing the same lukewarm coffee he'd reheated 3 times that morning. A single bulb flickered above him, straining against the darkness that clung to every corner of the place. The trailer was more rust in structure. Its walls were paper-thin, and its floor warped from years of leaks. The air stank of damp socks, cigarette ash, and loneliness. On the cluttered table sat an unopened letter from the DMV and a half-eaten slice of cold pizza from Joe's, where Jack worked every night until his back screamed. Once, long ago, Jack Tanner was someone else. A wide-eyed kid from Illinois who believed in second chances. But life hadn't offered many. Abandoned by his parents, bounced between cruel foster homes, Jack ran by age 9 and slept in alleyways. Painkillers dulled the cold and hunger until they became a chain. By 20, he was locked up for boosting cars. He got clean. He even built a life, a wife, 2 bright-eyed daughters, steady work. But then 2008 stole it all. Job gone, dignity gone. When the last paycheck dried up, Jack fell harder than before. The day he collapsed in front of his daughter, convulsing on the bathroom floor, was the last day he saw them. Now, Jack scraped by at Joe's Pizza. No days off, no visitors. Half the month without power, bathing at the gas station down the road. He slept with a bat by the door, not from fear of robbers, but of himself. What he might do if one more person looked at him like he didn't matter. Only Henry Brooks, the retired factory worker next door, saw anything left of Jack. Henry had found him years ago, nearly frozen behind a dumpster, carried him inside, gave him soup and a coat. That coat still hung by the door. Every night, Jack whispered the same thing to his cracked bathroom mirror before work. Don't give up, not tonight. And so far he hadn't. Rain tore across the windshield like silver knives as Jack gripped the wheel of his battered Ford Ranger. Midnight, Route 29. No radio, no heat, just a rhythmic slap of the wipers and the rattling groan of an engine that begged for retirement. The tires hissed against the soaked asphalt, barely holding their grip. His eyes burned from grease and oven smoke. His back throbbed from 12 hours spent hauling pies and dodging kitchen hazards. Just 2 miles from home, that's when he saw her. A figure in the storm, arms waving near a stalled sedan, hazards blinking against the black. A young woman, maybe in her 20s, soaked to the bone, kicking the side of her car like it had betrayed her. One of her headlights was out, the back tire completely flat. Jack's foot hovered over the brake. His gut screamed. Keep going. He knew how this looked. Old man, beat-up truck, middle of the night. If she panicked and called the cops, he'd be the one explaining things with a record hanging around his neck like a noose. But something held his foot firm. He pulled over. The woman backed away fast, clutching her phone. Her expression flashed with fear. Jack opened his door slowly, hands raised. Not trying to scare you. Just saw you needed help. She hesitated, then nodded cautiously. I can't get the Jack to work. Jack stepped closer. Mind if I take a look? Rain lashed down as he crouched. The Jack was twisted, angled wrong. He corrected it and started cranking, fingers slipping. Just as the car began to lift, his hand slid off the wet metal, and the edge of the Jack sliced deep across his palm. He hissed, but said nothing. Blood spilled down his wrist, mixing with the rain. He wrapped it in an old T-shirt from his seat and kept working. Are you okay? She asked. I've had worse, he muttered. In under 10 minutes, the tire was changed. Jack tightened the last lug nut, hands trembling, then rose with a groan. She introduced herself, Emily Monroe. He gave her his name, surprised by how long it had been since someone had asked for it. He laughed once, dry and unexpected, and told her about Ridgewell Industries, the job he wanted but couldn't get because of one box on a background check. "My girls don't talk to me," he added, then instantly regretted it. "It's fine. I screwed up. People move on." Emily was silent, but her eyes shimmered. She handed him a bottle of water and watched as he limped back to his truck. As he drove off, rain still hammering down, Jack gripped the steering wheel tight, his wounded hand pulsing. His vision blurred, not from the storm, but from something hot and unexpected. He hadn't meant to care, but for a moment, it had felt like someone saw him. He didn't know it yet, but that moment had changed everything. The morning after the storm, Jack's trailer was a cage of stale air and silence. He awoke on the floor, clutching his injured hand, shirt soaked with sweat, fever hammering through him like a drum. The cut from the jack had swelled, red and angry. He staggered up, vision spinning, and nearly fell into the sink trying to find his balance. Firewood, that was the plan. He needed heat. Jack threw on his jacket, staggered outside into the gray dawn. The cold slapped him like a warning. His boots crunched across frozen dirt as he approached the pile beside the trailer, lifting a log, and nearly collapsed under its weight. He barely made it to the steps before the fever finally dragged him down. His knees buckled. He hit the porch hard and lay there, cheek against splintered wood, the world dimming at the edges. That's when he heard it. Tires on gravel. A black Chevy Suburban, spotless despite the mud, slowed to a stop in front of the trailer. Out stepped a man in a charcoal suit, flanked by 2 security guards. Jack blinked, unsure if he was hallucinating. The man approached, calm but purposeful. "Jack Tanner?" he asked. Jack tried to crawl away, pain flaring up his side. "If this is about Ridgewell, I'm not trespassing. I just applied." "I'm not from Ridgewell," the man said, kneeling beside him. "I'm Daniel Monroe, Emily's brother." Jack froze. Daniel glanced at the wrapped hand and blood-stained shirt. "We need to get you inside." "You're not well." Jack tried to push him away. "I'm fine." "You're not," Daniel said simply and motioned to the guards. Together, they helped Jack inside and laid him on the couch. Daniel opened a sleek leather folder and pulled out an envelope. "This," he said, placing it on Jack's chest, "is for helping my sister last night." Jack blinked. "I didn't do it for money. It's not a payment. It's a thank you. Emily was vulnerable. You could have driven past. You didn't. She said you reminded her of our father. Not because you're perfect. Because you still care, despite everything." Inside the envelope, $15,000 in cashier's checks. Jack stared at it like it might vanish. "I can't take this." "You will," Daniel said, "and you'll take this too." He handed Jack a second document, an official offer of employment from Ridgewell Industries. "Emily called in a favor," Daniel said. "It wasn't easy, but your record won't stop you anymore. You've got a shot, Jack. Entry level. Benefits. Training. It's yours if you want it." Jack gripped the papers, hands trembling. He hadn't cried in years. Not when he lost his family. Not when the overdose nearly killed him. But now the tears came, slow and heavy. "I don't deserve this," he whispered. Daniel stood. "Maybe not, but you earned it." After they left, Jack sat in silence, the checks on his lap, the job offer like a lifeline. His hand throbbed, his head burned, but something deeper had changed. Someone had seen him and believed he was worth saving. 2 days later, Jack checked into Willow Pines Recovery Center. Emily had prepaid for a 90-day stay. No street clinics. No shared bunks. This place had therapists who looked you in the eye. Rooms with real beds. A gym. Even a garden. Detox hit like a hammer. Night after night, Jack writhed in bed, soaked in sweat, gripping the mattress like it might keep him grounded. He saw the overdose again, the look in his daughter's eyes, the way his wife screamed his name, the sound of the ambulance siren as it pulled away. The pain was unbearable, but he bore it. Emily sent him books. Henry called every Sunday. A staff member slipped a card under his door one day. A note from Emily. "You saved my life in the rain. Time to save your own." By week 6, Jack could finally breathe without shaking. By week 8, he started jogging around the facility's courtyard in the early morning, watching dawn break with new eyes. And on day 90, he walked into Ridgewell Industries, clean, dressed in a press shirt and trembling. He sat across from a manager with reading glasses and a nameplate that read, Carol Hinton, Veteran Outreach Director. She opened his file, eyes scanning quickly, then paused. "You're the guy who changed the tire," she said, glancing up. Jack stiffened. "That got out." "People talk," she said, "especially when someone doesn't walk away when they had every reason to." She closed the file. "Welcome to Ridgewell, Jack." That night, in a rented apartment 2 states away, Jack unpacked his duffel on a real bed. There was a knock at the door. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "You did something kind. You're not the man I left behind. Rachel," his daughter. Jack read the words 3 times before he dared to believe them. His hands shook. His vision blurred again. Maybe, just maybe, he was becoming someone worth returning to. Jack adjusted the Ridgewell badge clipped to his chest and stared at the warehouse floor stretching out in clean, endless rows. It was week 7 on the job. He was good at it. Fast, quiet, focused. His co-workers didn't talk much to him. But they didn't sneer either. That was enough. For now. At night, he wrote letters to his daughters. Never sent them. Just wrote. Every Tuesday, Emily called. Every Friday, Henry mailed a newspaper clipping or a Polaroid of his dog with scribbled caption. "Still here. Still rooting for you." Jack had been clean 127 days. Then, just after Thanksgiving, a fire drill sent the Ridgewell employees out into the bitter Wisconsin cold. They stood around, shivering, waiting for the all-clear. That's when Jack saw her, Rachel, his eldest, standing at the edge of the crowd, next to a sleek black car. Her hair shorter now, blazer-pressed. She worked in HR for a medical supplier. She must have seen the article. The story Emily had posted. Jack froze. The wind cut through his coat. His heart beat in his ears. Rachel stepped forward. "I wasn't sure it was you," she said, voice barely above the wind. Jack swallowed. "It's me." She hesitated. "You look better." He gave a lopsided smile. "That's new. I read what happened. The tire. The job. Rehab. I didn't think you'd ever see me again," Jack finished. Rachel looked away. "You scared us. That night." Jack's voice cracked. "I know. I see it every time I close my eyes." Silence. Then she stepped closer. "I just needed to see if it was real. If you're real." Jack opened his mouth, but the fire alarm shut off. People began trickling inside. "Coming from the cold," she said quietly. "Not just today." Jack didn't trust his voice. He nodded once, and that was enough. The next week, Jack was asked to volunteer for Ridgewell's holiday food drive. He almost declined. But Rachel was there, coordinating the event. They sorted cans, passed out flyers, loaded trucks for delivery. Every few minutes, she glanced at him with cautious familiarity. Not warmth, not yet, but recognition. Then came the night. Everything nearly fell apart. December 22nd. Jack was on the late shift when he heard the shouting near the front dock. A man, young, red-faced, clearly high, was shoving a Ridgewell driver against a stack of crates. The guy was Rachel's ex, Brian. He'd come to demand visitation with their daughter, Ava, despite a court order. Rachel had mentioned him once, in a whisper. He's dangerous when he uses. Jack didn't hesitate. He moved fast, too fast for his healing body, slipped between them, and stood squarely in Brian's path. "Back off," Jack said, calm but unmovable. Brian sneered. "Who the hell are you, her guard dog?" Jack didn't blink. "Just a man who won't let you hurt her again." Brian's fist cocked. Jack braced. Then headlights splashed across the dock. Security had arrived. Brian backed off, spitting on the ground. This isn't over. Jack stood still, blood pounding in his ears. Rachel appeared behind security, eyes wide. You didn't have to. Yes, I did, Jack said. Because I wasn't there when I should have been. Not for you. Not for her. She stared at him. A long, painful beat. And then she stepped forward and hugged him. Tight. Fierce. I wanted to hate you, she whispered. But you're not the same man anymore. He buried his face in her shoulder. I'm trying not to be. Christmas Eve, a Ridgewell truck pulled up outside a quiet duplex in Madison. Inside, a small tree glowed. Jack opened the door to find Rachel and Ava on the porch. Ava was 8, her eyes full of her mother's fire. Mom says you used to build snow forts. Jack smiled. I was undefeated champion of 1973. Prove it, Ava challenged. That night, they built a crooked fort under the stars. Jack's bad, and he protested, but he didn't stop. Later, inside, Rachel handed him a gift, a small wooden box. Inside, a Ridgewell pen, and a photo. Jack, holding Ava, both smiling. We're giving you a second chance, Rachel said. Don't waste it. He looked at her, then to Ava, then to the twinkling lights around them. I won't. A week later, Ridgewell held its end-of-year ceremony. Awards, promotions, recognition. To Jack's surprise, he was called on stage. This man, the speaker said, reminds us that kindness is no resume, that redemption isn't just possible, it's powerful. Jack stepped up, awkward in the spotlight. He cleared his throat. I used to think no one noticed me, and for a long time, I didn't deserve to be seen. But one night, I helped someone on the side of the road, just changed a tire, and that one act somehow saved my life. He paused. Sometimes, the smallest things can pull a person back from the edge. The applause was thunderous, but all Jack saw was Rachel, Ava, and Henry in the front row, smiling, together. 1 year later, Jack stood on the back porch of his modest home in Madison, coffee in hand, the winter sun spilling over the quiet street. Inside, laughter echoed, Rachel and Ava decorating cookies, while Henry Brooks read aloud from the recliner he now called his own. His cancer had come back, but Jack had promised, "You won't face it alone." Jack had kept that promise. He was now a shift supervisor at Ridgewell. Not a flashy job, but honest, stable. He trained new hires, many from halfway houses veterans, people like him who just needed someone to believe. Emily visited sometimes, always unannounced. She'd bring him books or photos from her travels. On his birthday, she arrived with Daniel in a framed certificate, presented in honor of courageous kindness. Jack hung it next to a mirror he used to avoid. His daughters didn't forgive overnight, but now they called, sent photos, shared holidays, even invited him to Ava's school play, where he sat in the front row, blinking fast through the entire first act. Each month, Jack attended a support group, not to talk, but to listen, to be the man in the back who nodded when others broke, who handed out hand warmers and hope in equal measure. At Ridgewell Staff Gala, he was asked what changed his life. Jack simply said, "Someone gave me a second chance when I didn't even ask for one. I just try to do the same now." And that was his legacy, not a name etched in stone, but kindness passed hand to hand like flame. The man once invisible was seen. The man once lost was home. The man once broken was whole. And this time he stayed.